their best week so far in Spring Split. They really embraced the Enchanter meta, and I thought we're able to win their 2v2 bot lane and then press with winning top and bottom lanes very successfully. So we'll see if they can continue that type of winning side lanes today.
Well, C9 has elected for first pick in this one, so Shopify will be playing from the blue side. We can see Orianna and Karma banned out by Shopify so far, alongside that Seraphine there. So all champions that can provide some shields, some utility taken off the table. Over on the other side, we're going to focus solo lanes a little bit more with the Ryze and the Rumble banned out, and the Lucian to round everything out. C9 with that first pick. I would not be surprised. Yep, there you go. Varus locked in.
Yeah, in lieu of the Karma Ezreal or Ashe Seraphine pairs being gone, it looks like teams are starting to go back to Varus. I'd say previously this is when they do the Yunara Lulu Corki Nami trade, but in the last series, Corki Nami went completely unpicked the entire time, and in this series they're prioritizing the Varus. So I feel like there's been a shift in scrims this past week in what the teams think is better.
Well, also talked about it last week when we saw Yunara Lulu get drafted in one of the games, and the stats always come up at the bottom. Yunara Lulu has not been successful in North American stage play. Maybe it's a different story in scrims, whatever, but the numbers are just, they don't lie. It has not been a winning combination so far in LCS matches, but we will get the Ezreal drafted for Shopify. They'll wait on the support pick and instead prioritize the Pantheon for Contractz.
Makes sense. Contractz taking that as his number one AD jungle, likely to just be traded back for another AD jungle with Blaber Jarvan, which is a little scary in the past, but something we didn't mention with the 3 bans that Shopify had, what is not included in the Orianna, Karma, Seraphine bans that is normally a ban against C9? I think we're seeing it hovered right now.
Yeah, this is always exciting when we get it. It's the signature champion for APA.
Psych,
it always works out well, and now it's
Annie.
getting replaced by Annie.
So, for what it's worth, Ziggs into Ezreal's not that good. You want to be able to pick Ziggs. I mean, if you're APA, you can probably just pick Ziggs whenever.
Yeah, that's my problem with pivoting over to Annie, which is another champion that I have just been very whelmed by in North America. I feel like the big selling points of this champion have not been realized on the stage, and it's just not living up to the reputation it's supposed to have. Whereas APA Ziggs, every time he breaks it out, even if they lose the game, his individual performances are almost always standout.
Yeah.
So I'm, of course, going to be a little bit disappointed that we don't get to see the Ziggs in the game where it's left open, but the Aurora will be the response in the mid lane, I'm assuming, here against C9.
I think the Ziggs angle is still looming. I understand why they do the Annie here, because for some reason, one Ziggs game always comes into my mind, and it was against Shopify, but it was with Palafox, where Palafox picked LeBlanc into Ziggs and just ruined his life and completely ran the game. Zinie would probably have a counter pick ready for Ziggs. Like, if you're thinking, as APA, game one, they leave Ziggs unbanned, and they already have 2 champions that are good against it, okay, maybe it's a trap, and he's going to hold off. That's where I'm at with the Annie, and Annie currently works well with the Jarvan and the Varus. And if they lose, it's going to be because they didn't pick Ziggs. Totally agree.
Yep.
But for now,
there you go.
They're going to try Annie.
Okay, we'll see how it works. We'll see if they can prove me wrong on that one. It is double engaged supports banned out by Shopify Rebellion, the Nautilus and the Alistar, both taken off the table. They don't want something else that can start fights off, because honestly, C9 already has some really good go buttons.
They really do. And I am wondering if C9 is going to have to ban the Bard based off of the double melee supports that Shopify banned, and Bard being a good pair with Ezreal. Bard's good with both supports, but since C9 picked first pick, that means Shopify gets first pick after second phase of bans, and that's why it's just a bunch of support bans.
Yep. The Nico, the Bard, the Nautilus, and the Alistar all off the table right now. We're assuming that both sides still got to pick those supports unless they want to try to flex the Annie down there for Vulcan. Shopify banning out engagers of their own. Will they choose to play something similar? They're sitting on this rel hover for quite a while.
Yeah.
Plenty of different options here, but going to have to pick something. Leona, the choice. Okay, first Leona of Split 2.
It's been a while, but we're so deep already into the support bans, and Leona herself is a strong champion in solo queue, gets extremely durable, especially if you decide to go with an early protoplasm harness. It synergizes so well with the Leona W. So I actually like the pick. It's always been a good pair with Ezreal, and we're so deep into the support pool bans that it makes sense.
And it also reminds me a little bit of the one of those pro player champion mechanical insight shorts that we had, talking about how Ezreal is actually deceptively strong early on in lane. If you stack lethal tempo, you stack his passive, and then you just all in, because people assume his job is to sit back and pelt you with Qs. But he can really pose a lot of threat just all inning, which Leona also wants to do. The pick for C9 in the support role in response was Rakan. And every time I see Rakan picked into Leona, I remember years back meta where Xayah and Rakan was dominant, and Leona was one of the popular picks into them because she can stop Rakan from doing what he wants to do and being slippery, jumping in and out of the fights.
Yeah, absolutely. If you press your Q as Leona as Rakan is charming you, you'll get the stun and at least stop Rakan from temporarily chaining the rest of the CC on your team. So we got some classic support picks coming in here. I wonder if the meta is a little bit shifting away from always seeing Seraphine Karma in every game. This series, it's because they're just banning it out.
Right. I mean, we still did see them. They're just on the you can't play it list.
Yeah. I mean, I was actually thinking this morning that if you ever get Ashe Seraphine together, it feels like if you're just good enough at it, it's the best.
Right.
So I am happy that we saw in the first series an effort to disrupt it. There was a first pick Seraphine followed by an Ashe takeaway, so you couldn't land the pair. And then here, Shopify just said, no, we're not playing that game.
Well, we also haven't quite touched on yet those last couple of picks in the draft. It's Yorick versus Gnar in the top lane. So we did have the Gnar pick up there for C9 because they had to blind, because Shopify gets last pick of the entire draft. Gnar's pretty much evergreen. You can play it into almost anything. Sure, it has worse matchups sometimes, but usually they're not going to be big meta picks. Yorick, when I see this champion drafted, your team had better be ready to play the side lane. This is not a champion that I want to see grouping for anything other than a necessary objective, like a big dragon fight, like a Baron that's about to be taken. If Yorick has any say in the matter, he wants to be split pushing, and the team needs to be ready to facilitate that. And I do like to see it drafted alongside a jungler like a Pantheon that can help from a long way away. So, update for everybody out there. After review, Cloud9 reported that the mouse issue, which was outside of their control, meaningfully affected their early game and requested a chrono break, which league officials have accepted. The game will be remade with the same picks and bans.
Okay. So, I'm going to guess he put a ward in the wrong spot.
You make the argument about it?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, so here's a replay,
we have the replay
of what happened.
All right, show us again.
Yeah, that was really
so fast. I wasn't ready for it. Yeah, so he's trying to ward here. I see. So because he can't ward here, he's worried that the other team is now in the bush. So if he places the ward again, he's worried he get jumped on. Only he's pausing when something bad happens.
Okay.
Respect to Vulcan.
All right.
We made it.
Now, let's see that ward. We've got to make sure that once he sprints down to the bottom lane, the middle brush right by the alcove receives the ward as intended.
Dude, I can imagine he just takes the sweeper this game. No, he took a ward, and he's taking a different path. So he's completely changed the game. The butterfly effect. Zven is the one.
Zven instead, he's like, don't worry, I've got this.
We're not remaking again.
The ward.
My mouse works.
Okay, so the ward is safely in the brush here for C9. They're feeling fine now. It doesn't look like we're going to get anything super creative from either side. And I always kind of wonder about that. If you have something really disruptive, any kind of pause or tech issue or whatever at the very beginning of the game, do you try to do something more weird, more unexpected after the game resumes, just because you know your opponents will probably be less focused?
I mean, we have the answer in a sense. In game one, we were saying it's going to be a bot-focused game. I expect Pantheon to path top to bot. He started on red buff. When we paused and remade the first time, he was over here with minions about to spawn. So both teams have actually slightly changed their level 1.
Okay.
Not that it matters, but I think it's just to mix things up so that some, in theory, plan doesn't punish them.
And I like the idea of doing that. If people's mind states are going to be more scrambled, you want to try to take advantage of that chaos and make something potentially happen through a little bit of creativity. APA versus Zinie, again, we already kind of talked about how we were hoping to see like the Ziggs, but the Annie still makes sense in the composition. So that's one thing I'll be keeping an eye on as this game goes forward. How effective does this Annie feel? How much value are we getting over it, considering the trademark champion was left over and passed over in exchange for this more meta pick?
Absolutely. Hope to see Zinie perform at a higher level. He's had a few flashes of brilliance, but overall has had a very slow start here in 2026 with all the hype that was built around him as the KT Challengers mid laner, you know, the heir apparent to BDD. Then BDD pops off of Worlds. He ends up on Shopify. It's really crazy. And then last place. But Shopify in spring in particular, the 6 games they played, very solid wins in week 1 against Dignitas, actually, not against DSG. And then Team Liquid, still very close gold for a lot of that first game. And against Lion as well, very close gold until like the 20-25 minute mark. So the early games have actually been very effective for this Shopify team, and they just haven't been able to close out as much as you would want.
And I feel like that's the tragedy of what you were talking about during the pause, the fact that they've never seen a Game 3 so far this year when these games are staying pretty well locked close for that first 20 or 25 minutes. But this could be the game-changing week. We'll have to wait and see here. But APA getting the better of Zinie. They're in that first trade, checking in on where our junglers are at. You can see top side Scuttle Crab controlled by Blaber right now. He'll be able to secure that one, no contest, and Contractz will just make his way down to the bottom. Yeah,
going to be a crab trade, and these are the same gold graphs, but this time for Cloud9 throughout their split. And the big thing here is they've actually won all of their series, but you wouldn't necessarily know it by the goal graphs at 20 minutes. They played a lot of really close games in which they win late. Blaber sticks around extra to get a Fudge kill.
Yeah, Fudge is in some danger here, tries to flash away, but the flash follow is ready to go, and the first blood is even handed over to Thanatos, feeling good about that one.
Really big kill fight bot too.
Yeah, immediately Seos is ready to try to make something happen here in the bottom lane as Zven, knocked down to 150 HP, does have to spend the cleanse, but no other summoners spent there by the C9 bottom duo.
Straightforward gank, but a very effective one. Blaber hurts his jungle tempo by only about 10 seconds, so the gank ends up being extremely valuable. And we know that if you get Thanatos ahead on Gnar, he can take over the game, and getting the flash and a couple minions down for the Yorick early on can be devastating. Big pickup for Thanatos if you talk to him, getting those boots early. He loves that on Gnar.
Having that extra money from the first blood, being the difference in getting that on your first shop or not, just feels so effective. APA silenced, muted 9 times this split, 3 from his own AD carry. That's just, people talk a lot about protecting your own inner peace and making sure you're keeping yourself set up for success, and it sounds like what Zven's doing. He's not here to yap.
Yeah, Zven wants to see the flash timers that Vulcan types, and he doesn't want to hear APA's mental warfare.
He doesn't want the rest of that nonsense in there. Okay. Still just that 1 kill so far on the board. First Drake is about to spawn here in 5 seconds or so. I do always like to keep track of how much early priority is placed on the Drakes, especially when we have supports that can be more explosive, when we have things like these engaged supports that can set up a play that then rotates over into a Drake afterwards. But right now it's Zven and Vulcan with control over the bottom lane as Seos makes his way back down.
He really does, and Blaber on a ward up top lane. That's where we have Contractz laying in wait. A lot of jungle-focused top lane. Contractz is not spotted, and Blaber realizes that's a little fishy.
Yeah, but Blaber going for these Krugs now, though. If he gets the Krugs, he should hit level 6 off of it, and then you've got a level 6 Jarvan versus a level 5 Pantheon, but now Thanatos going to be in some danger. Half HP left on the Gnar, and he does not have any Gnar bar to charge. He gets away for now from the little ghost. His potion keeps him alive. Thanatos lives with what had to be 20 HP.
And there are no flashes on Shopify to try and finish that kill. That could have been so good. They'll still get a plate and a lot of turret damage because Thanatos is without TP. Nearly a lane-saving gank there by Contractz.
I also think he dies there if he didn't have the fully upgraded plated steel cap.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that ended up making such a huge difference, being able to survive that. So good stuff for Thanatos. Shows the payoff of the earlier play from Blaber up there in the top side. You can see Blaber is now waiting down here in the bottom side river because Bvoy and Seos are trying to get this wave pushed up and crash, which you can see they do, but there's no play to be found for the Jarvan, so he'll go ahead and take his recall. No attempts on that Drake here just yet, like I was talking about earlier, but there's a lot of C9 vision. They've got the bottom Scuttle Crab, they've got the ward in the upper part of the river, now an additional ward in the Pixel Brush, and a control ward in the Dragon Pit. They really want to know if Shopify's going for this.
Play for bot. We're playing for bot.
Yep.
Went back and checked. Thanatos lived with 3 health. So
3?
I'd say the plated steel caps did keep him alive.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking originally it's 20 or 30, something like that. I'm like, yeah, that probably factored in. 3 is okay for sure.
A little close. That's like the second that you pressed your first refillable potion is the difference between living and dying, as well as all the plated steel caps and all of his rune choices. So very close, but that's sometimes how League of Legends games are decided. And now that they've set up around bottom lane, the ganks have failed. Thanatos is back to trying to farm plates in the top lane, and Blaber is probably just going to move in here. Seos, that's vision you don't control.
Yeah, he managed to sidestep the initial Jarvan combo, but then the Cataclysm still locks him up. He tries to use Zenith Blade to escape onto APA, and the escape will be successful. Manages to put himself in a spot where he can flash back over the wall to escape any more follow-up from C9. So Seos is going to stay alive, but that was both summoner spells used defensively from the Leona.
So low-key, that was a really bad place to be, but the result is really good. I'm always going to trade like a heal flash on my Leona for a Jarvan ulti, an Annie ulti, and then also all the tempo they've gained where they're trying to chase down this Leona who's going to reset anyway. Bot lane wasn't sweating either. Shopify actually gets a lot of tempo off of that. Now Contractz are trying to use it to steal red.
Blaber is in the area, throws out the flag, finds that the camp is not there. Dragon Strike into the brush, but he doesn't want to try to overcommit to this. You could see that Fudge was walking down towards that jungle as well in case there was going to be a battle. And this is also the consequence, what you just mentioned. They know that APA doesn't have Tibbers, so if he rotates up and this turns into a big 3v3 in the jungle, they don't really want to fight that. So C9 just going to walk away from it. Seos looking maybe for the Zenith Blade there. He needed the one more kill on a minion for the Solar Flare. Does finally have it now. The entire time, Blaber is looking to take the first Drake. Just about 8.5 minutes into the game. Seo's going to walk over, see that it's still about half HP. That means that Shopify can challenge for this if they want to.
Very greedy contest.
Goes after Blaber. Not quite going to find him. Solar Flare there for the follow-up, and immediately Contractz and Zinie guarantee that Blaber's out of there. Nice collapse from Shopify.
That was so sweet. Essentially, it looks like a trade from Shopify where they send Yorick to hit Grubs. So C9 think they're taking Grubs, which makes sense because they're a Yorick team and want to be able to split push. But then instead of killing all 3 Grubs, they only kill 2. It doesn't give the global contract call out. Contractz moved down. They know they have ultimate advantage, and they just get the kill and likely the Drake, but this fight's not over.
Yeah, we're not done yet. Bvoy and Seos trying to keep everybody on C9 distracted, but now it's time to exfiltrate. Seos still trying to hold everybody on C9 down, but no, Vulcan's already got the kill. Seos out of the picture. Chains of Corruption fly out. Zinie's got to be careful. Blaber jumps in with a Cataclysm, and Contractz drops too. C9 are getting their punish. Blaber nearly dies, and Bvoy finally takes him out. The Tibbers trying to body block as Bvoy chases back. It's a double kill for the Ezreal, and he might not be done just yet. Another Mystic Shot finds Zven. Tibbers won't be able to do anything about it, Jatt. It's a bloodbath in bot side.
Bvoy's Ezreal comes out of that with 2 kills, and Shopify get the Drake. Watching it one more time, we know there's no Pantheon ult, no Leona ult, no Ezreal ult, so Shopify is low in terms of starting this fight, regardless of if the TP comes in. And it's a good fight start for C9 as they're able to burst down a couple, but it's the continuation that gets them in trouble, mainly because they miss everything. So Blaber doesn't land his EQ knockup, and Zven misses his flash Q on the Varus. If they get that kill on Zinie, then they probably have numbers, and Bvoy's not confident enough to chase, but because they missed everything.
No flash.
Nice.
Nice Bvoy, well played.
Yeah, good.
I agree. That was well played by Bvoy. Good. Shopify will be happy with that one. They take the Drake like you mentioned. They already had the 2 out of the 3 Grubs from earlier. Yeah. That last Grub is still just going to be chilling there for the next 4 minutes or so. So either side can go collect him if they really want to. MasterCard Power Spike completed, as Zinie is going to have his Proto Belt unlocked now on that Aurora. So we'll see how much more playmaking he's able to accomplish with that, considering he does almost have the ulti ready to cast here again. Does have a very sizable health advantage over APA right now too, but won't hit him with that last 2-fold Hex. And Vulcan's just going to make sure that his mid laner's okay to take a reset.
A lot of support roams in the mid lane here in this Annie versus Aurora matchup. Really common matchup. They both kind of want to do the same thing. Just burst each other, and also both have pretty strong wave clear, so getting the shove in and protecting your wave so that you can get the TP back. Now matching with Malignance, good stuff from APA. But I like the position Shopify's in this game right now. They have good bot push, item power spikes, and Contractz ult is up soon. They're going to be looking for a play bot here.
Bvoy is so strong. He's got red buff alongside the Trinity Force. The tier is halfway stacked, so I'm assuming around the time that he gets the Manamune completed, he'll be able to just fully evolve it into the Muramana for the big power spike. Checking back in on top lane, though, because this was where that first blood was. You saw Thanatos having a pretty sizable individual lead so far in the game, and once again, he does. Fudge down multiple waves, still down that 1 kill. but at least they've both got their tier 2 boots, so he's not just only going to get run down by the Gnar. Meanwhile, down here in bottom lane, it's Seos and Contractz are going to make their move yet again. Solar Flare lands onto Zven, but the Zenith Blade is out of range. Chains of Corruption also not going to find the target, but Bvoy eats a ton of damage coming out from piercing arrows, then staying alive for now as Contractz also misses the spear. Zinie has to show up to finish the job, and C9 are looking for a little bit more. APA wants to stun the Contractz, and he finds the burst he needs. Now Seos has to try to get away, but it's disaster for Shopify Rebellion. That play, a couple of skill shots that should have been just a little closer, a little more accurate, end up costing dearly.
Oh, this has got to be so frustrating for Shopify because I loved the idea of this play. It just falls short in the execution. They had perma mid push, they had bot push, they want to set up a numbers advantage dive with a no cleanse Varus. You can see no summoner spells there down on the bottom, but the big thing here is just they land the full stun, Zenith Blade doesn't connect, and then Ezreal shifts in and also misses because he was expecting a CC follow-up from the Leona, so they miss everything. Now they're caught under the turret, and Blaber can execute.
And then Contractz misses the spear. Yeah. That's a melee range Pantheon spear, and that's a 200 HP target. That would have killed.
They are all skill shots. They can be dodged or missed. However, if you're stunned, you miss it.
Yes.
Because there's no dodging when you're stunned.
The guy can't move.
Yes, Seos did miss that E, but I'd say Zven dodged the Pantheon.
Okay, that's fair.
You know, we'll give him some credit.
That's fair. I'll accept that. It is now a 6-4 game for C9. They are only up 500 gold, so it's not like Shopify have just completely lost all control of the game, anything like that. Like, we still have a very competitive game thus far. Just about 14 minutes on the clock, just about 30 seconds left before our next Drake spawns. And 1 minute until the Herald shows up on the Rift here as well. We did see it on the screen a little bit earlier. The Contractz did secure the final grub that was started by Fudge earlier, so at least they've got those. You mentioned already how grubs are more important for Yorick comps than they are for most other comps, just because he has to be that dedicated split pusher. So now the question will be, how much value does Fudge get from that, considering Thanatos has owned the 1v1 ever since he got the first blood?
Yeah, geez, 1.4 thousand gold.
It's 40 farm.
Trinity Force completed. While he has this power spike, he's just going to keep dominating. Thanatos Gnar is just different.
Yeah, he's really good at the champion, and he's 40 farm and a kill ahead. Like, this is not going to be an enjoyable split-pushing game for Fudge unless something drastically changes.
Looking at the top laners with no TP, they're going to keep doing their thing. But with this Drake being up, C9 is going to want to retake this vision. We definitely could see a fight in a moment's notice.
Seos controlling the area for now. 2 control wards already put down by Shopify Rebellion. Blaber level 10 here on the Jarvan. Contractz only level 9 on his Pantheon. Teleports available for neither top laner.
Zinie keeps getting the mid push, so that's giving Shopify these windows to move back into river, but then once APA clears the wave, he'll be allowed to enter. So this is perfectly setting up for a fight.
Okay, Drake's still about half HP. Piercing arrow only hits Seos. Solar Flare finds a target in Blaber, who immediately flashes away. True Shot Barrage chunks Zven a little bit, but not a whole lot, as the Infernal Drake is claimed by Shopify, but it costs them their support. I'm going to call that worth. Yeah,
Drake for support, but APA quickly ran top lane. He might be looking to execute Fudge here and break open the top turret. Contractz is going to follow with a Pantheon ultimate, though.
Okay, 2v2 potential up here underneath the top lane tier 1 turret. Fudge getting bursted down very quickly. The Mega Gnar into the wall takes him out before Contractz arrives. And C9 with APA's rotation into the top lane finds another kill.
Really well executed there by C9, and that's completely an APA play. He sees that the dragon fight is done, and he just rushes up top lane. You could tell they also knew it needed to be a fast play, so they were aware of the Pantheon ultimate possibility, and they just pull it off. This is now a 2,000 gold lead for this Thanatos blind pick Gnar. He is making Shopify pay.
And now that Fudge is dead for the next 5 seconds, it means less control over the top side of the map for Shopify by default, which means it's that much safer for Blaber to just walk up into the top side river, grab that crab. That almost gets him to level 11. Just going to need slightly more EXP to unlock that level 2 Cataclysm. Control over the top side still here for C9. Zinie is going to rotate into top lane, though, to make sure he's catching these waves, because Fudge has now moved bottom after respawning. APA is the one answering him down there. Both of those champions have their teleports ready. APA does get caught in the Dark Procession, but immediately just turns it around with Tibbers, forcing Fudge to walk back a little bit. It's a battle of minions between these two, and Fudge ends up flashing away.
usually the Yorick is going to be really confident if you can get into melee range with your Maiden. Not with no MR against that Annie.
Nope, but the Rip Herald has already been claimed by C9. Blaber, the sacrificial Jarvan for that one. And the eyeball is still on the floor. Shopify is trying to protect it and prevent C9 from being able to get anything out of this objective. Thanatos in mini Gnar form, trying to step up, create a little bit of space. But the eye is starting to sparkle with that purple energy. It's about to go back to the Void, and yes, it does. Nice move from Shopify there. They get the kill, they get the punish on the enemy jungler, and they stop them from being able to take what they earned that cost them that sacrifice.
It ends up being really good getting the kill onto Blaber. And now, though, the pressure is still back in the side of C9. Thanatos is going to continue to scale with him staying on the map and being able to get that first turret. 2.7K. This is... aside from Thanatos, this game's exactly what we'd expect of a normal C9 Shopify game, right? C9 plays these messy games that they win in the end. Shopify plays these messy games that they lose in the end. But now Thanatos is just the difference maker with 2.6K.
I mean, it's almost exactly the overall lead for C9 as a team, right? Like, you look at the other roles.
Yeah.
Vulcan and Blaber are up about a little bit under 1,000 gold between them. Zinie's ahead just barely anything. It might as well be written off. And then Bvoy's up about 1,000 gold himself. So this trades pretty evenly. But Thanatos is just the X factor in this game. And you already mentioned how his Gnar is built different. We know that he knows how to pilot this in a way that can just win you games. And contrary to the story of Yorick, where he doesn't want to be able to join team fights unless he absolutely has to, where the side lane is his only true home, his real calling, Gnar is happy to participate into team fights as long as you set up well for them. All of Gnar's team fighting is about Gnar bar management and everybody being able to play around it. And I feel like if you're going to have a guy that's as good at Gnar as Thanatos is, you as a team need to be able to play around that, and that's what I'm expecting C9 to do.
We'll see if they can. They were trying to set up a play on the bottom lane there, but Zinie got a really good trade on an APA, and C9 had to call off the dive that they were thinking to break that turret. They can still take the crab on the way out and reset.
So, the big thing I'm looking at here is we've got a little over a minute until our next dragon fight happens. Now, if Shopify secures this dragon, they've already got the first two. They didn't get them super quick, but it's still a good pace for being able to stack towards a soul. But the problem is, Thanatos has TP. And yes, Fudge also has TP, sure. But Thanatos has TP. And that's just not going to be an even battle, considering he's an entire Black Cleaver ahead of his opponent.
Yeah, that's a lot.
Yeah.
That's a lot of items.
That's a pretty strong items.
I would also say, though, like, Shopify's in an okay spot with Leona. Leona's incredibly hard to kill now with Protoplasm Harness, and then Bvoy's Ezreal is also way far ahead of Zven's Varus. So there is a window for them to get a good fight. If Thanatos is going to keep splitting, they'd want to start, but he also has TP, and he's going to fly in with that giant TP shield. This is all on Thanatos. If Shopify can get the Gnar TP out before the Drake starts and then run away, that's kind of their best chance.
Thanatos just immediately drops the Gnar ulti there for a quick trade onto Fudge. Of course, Mega Gnar doesn't have a very long cooldown at all, but it will not at least be available immediately as the dragon spawns. C9 controlling the bottom side Ripper for now, controlling the top side push for now. Shopify have got to respond somewhere because they're losing ground in both locations.
Yeah, Shopify is going to want to fight. So if, like, Seos can engage. It'll take them a long time to push him away from the fight.
Well, Thanatos
already
has the Gnar bar just about charged. Solar Flare finds two targets. APA is going to get bursted low, but he finds a kill on the Contractz first. Vulcan staying alive for now as Zinie does finish off the kill onto the Annie. Tries to get over the wall and escape, but he can't quite do it. Blaber down to 50 HP. Vulcan singing the same song, but it's Zven finds the kill onto Bvoy instead. C9 is doing a beautiful job fighting, and the raid boss has arrived. Shopify don't have the gear, and C9 get a 4-for-1.
Thanatos is taking over this game. As soon as Shopify was thinking about an engage, he ulted in. It basically synced up with the Pantheon ultimate. You can see how strong Shopify is, right? Seos manages to kill Annie, they push Vulcan out of the fight, but then a full shield, perfectly managed Gnar bar Thanatos flies in, doesn't need his ultimate that is on cooldown earlier, and there's no way Shopify can fight once he arrived.
And then the ultimate comes back right here so that he can slam Fudge into the wall and guarantee that he gets yet another kill on his enemy top laner. And DeMonte's face is the face of a man who just got TP'd on by a 3,000 gold lead Gnar. That is now a 3,500 gold lead Gnar. I don't know what the answer is for Thanatos.
He killed the turret while we were in the replay, so that's how he got the extra 500 gold.
Oh, okay.
He doesn't have TP for another 4 minutes. Good luck.
Okay, that's true. You got to do something big with these next 4. But the problem is also 4 minutes from now no longer means you potentially get a Dragon Soul because you just lost the Dragon fight. So now it's still just a 2-to-1 Dragon count.
True.
Yeah. So that 4 minutes that we're looking forward to doesn't really feel that great, but it probably feels better than this. He's just kind of running at him.
Oh, maybe.
Oh, so close.
Took a lot of turret damage.
So close. At first I thought we were just going to see Thanatos right-click him, and that's just it.
He would have given up his entire bounty if he does that, because Contractz would have been able to collapse on him. I'd say Vulcan is also having a sneaky, solid game. Yeah. The Mikhails is really crucial for getting people out of Leona or Pantheon CC in terms of avoiding one-shots. They have to exit the base.
Zinie versus APA up here in the top side. The Tibbers, again, just dropped pretty much off cooldown. So, yeah, Thanatos, obviously the story of the game. Blaber, pretty significantly far ahead of Contractz now here, too. Has his Sundered Sky plus Black Cleaver already completed, BF Sword, building towards that 3rd item. Vulcan, you already mentioned him doing very well, has the Mikhails Crucible to clear off the status ailments from anybody on his team that might get caught by that Solar Flare. Because every time we're seeing these fights start around the Dragons, Seos fires Solar Flare, and we're not really ever seeing him hit multiple stuns. C9's not staying close enough where 2 people can both be in the center of the flare. So as long as you just have Mikhails, you hit the guy who got hit with the center of the flare, other guy flashes out because he's only slowed.
And they're starting the Baron up right away now. Thanatos does help kill this pretty quickly, and Fudge is bought with no TP, so they're going to have a numbers advantage here.
Yeah, Shopify on the approach, but Thanatos has the Gnar bar charged. Shopify's going to pull him off of the objective at least. Honestly, this is about best case scenario for Shop.
And this is a little bit similar to last week for C9, where Vulcan and Thanatos are both playing well. It's similar in the sense that Vulcan still hasn't died. So last week, game 1 and 2, deathless. This game, in a fairly bloody game, also deathless, but Thanatos is just creating action, guys.
Yeah, Thanatos jumps in
and Vulcan.
Seos and Contractz in a 1v2, but those odds feel pretty good for a Gnar that's this fed. Bvoy falls to Zven on the side, and now this TP this is a funeral teleport. This is just no way home out of that one. Fudge arrives, Fudge dies. The Fudge factor remains at 0. 0 and 4 in this one. It is not the effective Yorick in the side lanes that you were hoping for. And now with a 6,000 gold lead, with a 5 versus 3 advantage on the Rift, it's C9 just going straight back to that Baron they start.
Yeah, Fudge, 0-4 factor. I don't know. It's been a rough one for him. They took Thanatos to 3 health with that first gank, and Thanatos has never looked back.
Nope. 3 health makes all the difference in a game of League of Legends.
Now he's off to the races. Thanatos makes that whole play. Vulcan follows up on it, but he is throwing that gold lead around.
And now
he's had good Gnar games in the past, but this one feels pretty special.
And he's moving towards Wits In now with the itemization because the only fed player on the enemy team is an Aurora. And if Aurora is going to spend her entire burst on a Gnar who has a Negatron cloak that will eventually be a Wits End, your team's feeling great.
You are. He might hit 3 items before Fudge hits 2. He's sitting on 1,400 gold with the items he has currently in his inventory. So he just doesn't want to reset yet for the tempo, but when he does, he'll be able to buy.
Yeah, that is some daunting stuff. 50 seconds till our next dragon spawns, and C9 know it. They are taking control over the enemy jungle. Control ward at the enemy red buff side brush, just to make sure that you've got absolute control over the area. And with the Baron, they're going to put some pressure onto the tier 2 while there's still 30 seconds to go on that objective. It's just Zven firing onto the thing. Yeah, you've got the Baron up minions helping a little bit. Blaber and APA waiting over the wall, just hoping Shopify tries to engage on the Varus because they're ready for the counter.
And Fudge is pretty hopeless at the moment, was running out bot just in case. He's going to run back top even though he can't do anything to Thanatos. Thanatos is holding TP this whole time while he's solo pushing his own wave. I think Contractz might try to 2v1, but I feel like Thanatos wins those.
Yeah, you might just lose. Like, if both of you get Mega Gnar'd into the wall, I'm pretty sure you still just lose.
I guess you'll just hit minions in the mid lane. When you're stuck between 2 bad decisions, what do you do?
Third decision.
You know?
You go mid.
Years ago, my wife and I told our dog to stay and ran in different directions, and then we both called him. And this is a similar output to what happened. He kind of just, his mind kind of broke. He didn't know where to go. So that's what it feels like is happening with Pantheon right now.
Well, it's a lot harder to go bottom now that Solar Flare is shot off and did absolutely nothing. Seo's chunked down to 1/3 HP. Contractz still looking, trying to find an angle to potentially make the play, but they're just not giving him one.
No good angles.
Thanatos is already level 18 on the Gnar.
Don't feel rushed here, guys. Don't. They're gonna run it down at some point.
Sometimes that's all you got to do. You just wait for your
rush.
opponents to make a mistake.
At the same time, they're going to have to engage at some point because they're losing the slow bleed like crazy. I agree. The patience from C9 paying off.
All right, 8,000 gold lead. No need to rush it. You've got your second dragon already. Extra armor and magic resistance. Going to feel good considering, hey, we just completed our Wit's End on the Fed Gnar. We just completed Guardian Angel on Blaber's Jarvan. This is just getting to a point, you know, that Edge of Night also done for Zven. It's just hard to see, okay, what is that miracle angle? What does that look like for Shopify to find one of these fights? Yeah,
Locket being completed on the Rakan, also super clutch. So Vulcan really just stacking the items that could possibly lead to a lost team fight. Somebody gets caught, Mikhail's, Aurora gets some AoE, Locket, just absorb that initial engage, and then they know they're going to win the extended fight.
All right, Shopify, you've got to find some kind of an angle, but it feels nearly impossible. Fudge continues just trying to answer whatever Thanatos does, but that matchup is always going to be Thanatos' priority. He is 85 farm ahead. He is 2-0-4. Fudge has not been able to find an effective role to play in this game thus far, and Thanatos is just going to keep that pressure on, keep that building. Level 19 now on the Gnar. There's just no answer.
He's just kind of grooving on his player cam. You see he's kind of dancing back and forth.
I mean, if there's any game to just groove, I feel like this is a good groove game.
This is the best feeling. You're on your signature pick. You're having a good one. Your team is winning.
Your team is just about to kill the fed enemy mid laner who is forced to flash away defensively and still barely lives. They're just going to barrel down topside, take that tier 2 anyway. And the whole time, you're just getting to push.
Yeah, just hitting minions, mega Gnaring. Going back to base with 1,600 gold. What you gonna buy?
Yeah, let's see what's
a little tunneler.
Yeah, little tunneler action. Doesn't do anything super special, but
there's no rush. His jungler already told him, don't worry about it. No need to take any risks.
Yeah, just get your little ball of stats, health and damage item. Everybody loves health and damage.
Yeah. When you're this fed, you kind of don't like ending the game, to be honest.
Yeah, you just want to keep playing. You want to experience this a little bit longer. Seos doesn't, though. He has to flash away. Still only level 10. On this Leona. Will Thanatos hit level 20 before Seos hits level 11 and literally double his level?
Well, Seos just hits 11, so he can't quite get there.
Ah,
it was close.
I know. I was really hoping we get to see it.
I mean, he's 19. He's super close.
Seos now going to step over a C9 ward. APA trying to get away. Contractz arrives with a Grand Starfall flash for the stun. Really wants this kill into APA. Tibbers used to try to protect himself by a little bit more time. Thanatos jumps in. Contractz dies first, but APA is finished off by Fudge, who gets his first kill of the game. But now Fudge has no way out of this one. Zinie is trying to make sure that the rest of C9 can't get in here in time. But I don't think it really matters to him, man. Zinie's your target. The wallop from Thanatos, not quite enough range. But it's still a 2-for-1 favoring C9. I like the fact that Shopify looked for something, but when you're this far behind, every play is a 5% play at best.
And even though that play lost 2-1, it won in the fact that at least TP Flasher off the Gnar. It's going to lose more now that Gnar's also hitting your Aurora.
Yeah, this is the Aurora that doesn't have Flash, remember, because she almost died in the Tier 2 play earlier. But Zinie's still staying alive. Aurora, a very slippery champ. Vulcan also having enough HP to escape the scrap, and Thanatos isn't going to chase any further forward because the rest of the team, they're waiting over at the Baron. They want to make sure that they can just get this one on spawn. Blaber and Zven can do plenty of damage, and even more with Thanatos joining to continue that DPS. APA, after his respawn, also going to teleport in and just make sure that there is no prayer for Shopify to try and challenge at this objective. That's going to be Baron number 2 for C9.
Yeah.
With 75 seconds until the next dragon spawns, they're going to run the Rift the whole time till then.
And they're going to do a quick reset so that they can set up for this Drake. In terms of just eliminating windows for Shopify to make a comeback, that's what C9's trying to do here, is they're just trying to play in a very disciplined way. Steric's completed for Thanatos. Objective bounties are on. Thank goodness. It's felt like they should have been on for a while, but the Drakes were what was keeping Shopify's win probability up, I'd imagine. Now they're just clearing out and looking to set up the Drake.
And if you're Shopify, what do you even do here? Because it feels like walking blind into this jungle that could have C9 waiting in any brush. There's just no way getting a third Drake is worth that.
I know. It's one of those things where if I'm playing this game, I'm definitely feeling really demoralized. But you have to just hope that Blaber is. That's actually it. I think if you're ever trying to find like a strategic way back in the game with the current tools they have, I don't think they exist. So you're just hoping that C9 sees an angle that isn't good and goes for it, and you're able to capitalize. There's no way to win a straight-up 5v5 fight.
That's even tougher because we heard from Blaber. Guys, they'll just int, play it safe, play it cool.
Blaber's good.
If he's already aware, then what is even the hope?
You just gotta hope.
All right, hope against hope. That's all Shopify's got. As C9, yes, the Dragon is up, but they're more concerned with pushing towards the enemy base. They've got 90 seconds left on this Red Bull Baron power play. They've got the Baron up, cannon minion, slowly plinking away at the enemy turret health bar. They'll shoot the crust off of it, knock off a third plate. Cannon minion continues doing its job, finally taken out of the picture there.
I'm a little surprised that C9 didn't clear out the Drake before this play, because if something goes wrong and they're going to be on soul point, they could have just cleared that off the map, but they're probably just trying to maximize their Baron uptime, and they're going to take the Dragon after. But like there's playing with no rush, then there's playing a little bit too slow.
Mm-hmm.
They're going to win either way, likely.
Yeah, I mean, you're 5 digits ahead now. It is a 10,000 gold lead. You are at the point in the game where you should just be able to brute force.
Yeah, because now it's a 38-minute, 30-second Dragon Soul instead of a 37-minute Dragon Soul. We're really splitting hairs.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this game has felt like it ended 15 minutes ago.
Yeah.
Right? But it hasn't against C9. I'm not going to fault them for playing safe and minimizing their potential loss chances, minimizing the opportunities for Shopify to come back. But eventually, I do need to see you push the Nexus.
Yeah. There's no Skarner in this game, so Zven is safe. Like, there's very few ways they can throw. If this game was faster, I wouldn't have taken the cheap shot. C9 is playing great, but...
Okay.
I'm sorry.
Lack of Skarner. Very important. All right, C9, total control still. They've got the Baron for exactly 3 more seconds, so that's about to go out the window. But they've got their 3 Mountain Dragons. They've got their super fed front line. Jarvan's got the Spirit Visage now there for Blaber. And here we go. Vulcan jumps in after Bvoy, but immediately the cleanse and the flash to escape that Rakan engage means Shopify's AD carry is going to stay safe for now. 5v5 here in the mid lane. APA actually not here quite yet. as Seos is going to be caught, throws the Solar Flare, flashes over the wall, getting away for now. Chains of Corruption flies out, and it's a great shot from Zven to keep the fight going. Blaber's in the middle of everybody, but he's still got the Guardian Angel. Remember that. APA finally joins the fray, and now Zinie can't find anything over the wall. APA escaping for now, kiting and fighting against the ghouls from Fudge, but Thanatos is already on a rampage. Vulcan diving into the back line. Bvoy might have lived earlier, but he's buried now. Fudge finally tries to get away, but no, there's no escape. Another grand entrance from Vulcan, and everybody on Shopify is left dead or licking their wounds as C9, they'll lose APA. All 4 other players still here, trying to barrel down the mid lane now. Contractz defending as well as he can. Blaber still staying alive, still has himself that Guardian Angel. There's just no stopping him. Zven is godlike. It's only Zinie alive. This should be your game-ending push. Thanatos, yep, he's got the Mega Gnar. He's got the wallop. He's got enough damage, one would have to think. Vulcan jumping into the back line yet again. Zinie goes golden, and Zven's just trying to DPS the turrets. Zinie should finally fall here, not quite yet, and there it is. Thanatos unstoppable at the very end. 35 minutes into the game, 21-8. It's a Thanatos raid boss Gnar game. It's GG game 1 for C9.
C9 take it slow and win by 15,000 gold. Zven lands the Chain of Corruption, which secured them that final fight. Vulcan is deathless yet again.